Welcome back to General History Talks. First off, my deepest apologies for the long absence of content. It seems that I really needed a vacation, and in the meantime, I took just that and went over to Ireland, the land of whiskey, leprechauns, and beautiful nature. I will do some videos about what I've done there. Just a small spoiler, we went to a war museum. This time though, General History, will take a look at the infamous Tiger II. We all know and love the Tiger II, sometimes also referred to as Königstiger, King Tiger, or Royal Tiger. In this episode, I use pictures and videos exclusively made by me or my good friend Pascal. Thanks for your contribution to this episode of General History Talks. Oh Hal, what do I keep you waiting for, right? You want to hear the little kitten purr, don't you? Let me tell you, in real life it was even better, and I got a definite historygasm from hearing this thing fire up. More about that later. But with that out of the way, the Tiger II, or officially designated Panzerkampfwagen Tiger Ausführung B, often shortened to Tiger B, will be the start of this episode. Its ordnance inventory designation was SD KFZ 182, and most of us also know it under its informal name, Königstiger, which is German for Bengal tiger, and which is often mistranslated as literally Royal Tiger or King Tiger by the Allies. Although this would be more or less incorrect. The Tiger II was the successor to another infamous tank, the Tiger I, and they combined the Tiger's thick armor with the sloping of the Panther medium tank, and an episode on that will come soonish. The Tiger II was first used in combat in Normandy on the 11th of July 1944. Let's take a look into its characteristics, proposed upgrades, and operational history in surviving vehicles. In 1937, the development of heavy tank designs was initiated, and initially the contract was awarded to Henschel, but another contract followed, which was given to Porsche. Henschel and Porsche differed in hull, transmission, suspension, and automotive features, but both prototypes featured the same turret, which was designed by Krupp. The Henschel design followed the same layout from the Panther, and the latter sloped armor with a rear-mounted engine, and also bore a lot of similarities to the Tiger I, such as the 9 steel-tied, 80 cm diameter overlapping road wheels per side and internal springing, mounted on transverse torsion bars. However, in contrast to early design Tiger Is and nearly all German half-tracks, the Schlachterlaufwerk featured only overlapping road wheels and not overlapping and interleaved, which simplified maintenance. This would also be implemented on the later designs of the Tiger I. The Porsche design, however, included a rear-mounted turret, which placed the engine in the middle of the vehicle, further separating the driver and the bow gunner or radio operator from the fighting compartment and the rest of the crew. The suspension was similar to the Elephant, which had 6 road wheels per side, in paired bogies, which were sprung by short, longitudinal torsion bars that were integral to the wheel pair, which in turn saved internal space and made repairs easier. Porsche's design featured a gasoline-electric drive, identical to the diesel-electric transmission, only with a gasoline-fueled engine as the primary mover. This was similar to a gasoline-electric hybrid, but without the storage battery, where 2 separate drivetrains on either side of the tank would be placed in parallel. I will go deeper into this once I get to the Tiger P or Ferdinand/Elephant vehicles. Porsche also suggested using hydraulic drives, but this unorthodox designs gathered little favor. Some suspension components would also be used in the Jagdtiger tank destroyers. Be sure to check out my video about that vehicle if you haven't done so already. With all this in mind, it is not strange seeing that Henschel won the design contract, and all the Tiger IIs were produced by his firm. As you may know, two turrets were used in the production of this vehicle, called the Porsche turret and the other the Henschel turret, and both names are misleading, since both are designed by Krupp, and especially the Porsche turret confuses a lot of people, since it gives the belief that this turret was designed by Porsche for their own prototype. Also, this turret wasn't as well thought out as the Henschel type turret, since it had really steep sides, and because of this, a curved bulge needed to be implemented on the left side of the turret to accommodate the commander's cupola, and it was difficult to manufacture. The biggest weakness of the turret, however, was that the front plate was curved, which created a shot trap. For those of you that don't know what a shot trap is, it is basically a part of the armor where incoming rounds are forced into another part of the armor, like in this case, the very thin roof armor of the hull. If a round of anti-tank ammunition would hit on the lowest side of the turret front, it would be forced downwards because of the angle, and could very well penetrate into the hull of the vehicle, injuring or killing the crew. The first 50 vehicles were fitted with this design and used in action. The more common Henschel turret used a simplified flat frontal plate, which was significantly thicker, and more importantly, had no shot trap. Also, it had a lesser slope to its sides, which prevented the need for the bulge on the side for the commander's cupola, and even gave room for more ammunition storage. Both turret designs were intended to use the 8.8 cm KWK-43 L71, combined with a Turmzielfernrohr 9D, a telescopic sight by lights, which was used by all but a few of the early Tiger IIs. This combination made it a very deadly opponent, since it featured a very accurate gun with a lot of punch, even on long-range shot, with the means to accurately sight the weapon and see the opponent. During practice, it was estimated that only beyond 1,000 meters, the hit chance to hit a 2 meter by 2.5 meter target would drop to 95 to 97%, and 85 to 87% at 2,000 meters, depending on ammunition type. Practice is of course inherently different to actual combat. For one, you're not getting shot at, and most of the times, your enemy won't sit still for you to line up your shot. However, although recorded combat performance was lower, it was still over 80% at 1,000 meters, and in the 60s at 1,500 meters, and about 40% at 2,000 meters. The gun could penetrate an armored plate, set at an incline of 30 degrees, up to 202 millimeters at a 100 meter range, and 132 millimeters at a 2,000 meter range, with the Panzergranate 3943, and 238 millimeters and 152 millimeters between those ranges for the Panzergranate 4043. The Sprenggranate 43, a high explosive grenade, was also available for soft targets. A fourth type of ammo was available, which would be used against armored or soft targets, which is the Hohlgranate or Hohlgeschoss 39, which is a high explosive anti-tank round, heat for short, and could penetrate 90 millimeters of armor at any range. I might need to elaborate on that. Heat ammo does not use kinetic energy to penetrate a target. The most popular hollow charge weapon I can name you is without a doubt the RPG-7. This rocket-propelled grenade used an explosive charge and a copper cone to penetrate a target. This works the same with heat ammo fired by tanks or other vehicles or weapon systems. When the ammo connects with a target, the explosive charge detonates, pushing the cone forward, thereby creating a stream of super hot molten metal, which will slice through the armor and inside the vehicle, starting to cool down and ricochet off the inside, severely injuring or killing crew members, destroying components, or detonating ammo. Because of this function, hollow charge ammo can penetrate a certain amount of armor at any range. A total of 80 rounds could be stored in the Porsche turret, and 86 rounds in the production turret. Secondary armament featured two 7.92 MG-34s with 5,850 rounds of ammunition, although a third could be mounted on the cupola's ring as an anti-aircraft weapon. The turret featured a powered turret traverse with variable speed by the Boehringer Sturm L4S hydraulic motor. This motor was driven by a secondary drive shaft from the main engine. The gunner could change between a high and low setting for the traverse via a lever on his right. low gear, independent of engine RPM, the turret could traverse 6 degrees a second, with the high speed setting and engine at 2000 RPM, 19 degrees per second, or over 36 degrees a second with an engine speed of 3000 RPM in high setting. The gunner controlled the direction and speed of traverse with foot pedals, or a control lever near his left arm. Should the tank run out of fuel or lose power due to a damaged engine, the turret could be traversed by hand, but very, very slowly. In this case, the loader would assist the gunner with an additional wheel, and one 360-degree turn of the wheel would traverse the turret a half degree. Jeez, I don't want to be swiveling that thing around when power traverse would be lost. The front hull armor was 100mm thick on the lower frontal glacis plate and 150mm thick on the upper frontal glacis plate, which was further complemented by the 40-degree angles both sat at, which gave an effective armor thickness of about 140mm and 210mm respectively. The lower portion of the side hull was at a 90-degree angle from the horizontal, while the upper side hull armor was placed at a 65-degree angle from the horizontal, and the entire side armor was 80mm thick, while the rear hull was 80mm thick and at a 60-degree angle. The hull roof was only 40mm thick. While the forward portion of the bottom armor was 40mm, the rearward portion was a meager 25mm. The front of the turret was 180mm at an 80 degrees on the production variant, and ranged from 60 to 100mm on the rounded turret face of the Porsche variant. The turret side was 80mm on both variants, but only at a 69-degree angle on a production turret compared to the 60-degree angle on the Porsche turret. The turret rear was the same thickness on, again, both variants, but at a 70-degree and a 60-degree angle respectively. The turret roof armor on the production variant was 44mm thick at 0 to 10 degrees from the vertical, while the Porsche variant featured 40mm thickness on a slope of 0 to 12 degrees. Unlike Porsche's ID, the Tiger II featured a petrol engine, like all other German tanks. The 700 PS V12 Maybach HL230P30 engine with 690 horsepower and 515 kilowatt powered both the Panther and Tiger tanks, which were lighter than the Tiger II. This caused the Tiger II to be underpowered, since it too was powered by the HL230P30, which gave it a power to weight ratio of 8.97 horsepower per ton. This also meant that the Tiger II was a heavy fuel consumer, which, sadly for the Germans, was in short supply. The Tiger II had a fuel capacity of 860 liters. Now imagine you standing next to the pump at a gas station pumping 860 liters in your engine, which gave it an operational range of 170 kilometers on road or 120 kilometers cross-country terrain. The transmission, the Maybach Allvar EG40 1216 Model B, provided 8 forward gears and 4 reverse gears, which also drove the steering gear, the Henschel L801, a double radius design, which was plagued by failure. The tank could reach a maximum speed of 41.5 km per hour, or a sustained speed of 38 km per hour on road, or 15 to 20 km per hour cross country. Traverse torsion bar suspension connected to 9 axles per side, with 800mm diameter road wheels supporting the tank. Similar to the Tiger I, the Tiger II was also issued with transport tracks, which were narrower for rail movement, and could be used to drive the tank short distances over firm ground, and the crew was expected to change out to the normal battle tracks as soon as the tank was unloaded. The ground pressure was 0.76 kg per square centimeter, and the vehicle had a ground clearance of 495 to 510 millimeters. Here we can see the Tiger II being started up. Kid on the ground is just getting an introduction in how to start, how to crank up the thing by hand. And they're telling him, right, when it fires up, step away, put your hands on your ears because the bang is quite loud. And we're just waiting, anticipation. We haven't heard that this thing run yet at this point. So none of us know what it sounds like, how well it will run, all that kind of stuff. Come on, lad, you can do it. Put your bag into it. Come on. There you go. Once you got it going, when the flying wheel is turning, it keeps on turning. So it gets easier and easier the more you turn it. It's like riding a bike in the highest gear. Might be hard at first, but once you got the movement going, it's going to be alright. Oh, come on, kid. Come on, we want to hear what that thing sounds like. Oh, don't be a pussy. A little stimulation for the lad. Yeah. Come on. There you go. There you go. Nearly there. Yeah. Don't just stand there. Didn't you hear what they said? Yeah, that was a loud bang. The vehicle was a total of 10.286 meters long, with the gun in the forward position, or 7.38 meters without counting the gun. It was 3.755 meters wide and 3.09 meters high. A crew of 5 soldiers operated the vehicle: the commander, gunner, loader, radio operator or bow gunner, and driver. Command variants of the Tiger II were also built, and these were designated Panzerbefehlswagen Tiger Ausführung B, and featured 2 versions, the SD KFZ 267 and SD KFZ 268, and only carried 63 rounds of 8.8 cm ammunition to accommodate the extra radios and equipment, and had additional armor on the engine compartment. The SD KFZ 267 used the Funkgerät 8 and Funkgerät 5 radio sets, and featured a 2 meter long star antenna D. This equipment was located on the rear decking, which was originally used for deep weighting equipment. The SD KFZ 268 used a Funkgerät 7 instead of a Funkgerät 8 radio, and had a 2 meter rod antenna on the turret roof and a 1.4 meter rod antenna mounted on the rear deck. The Tiger II was a very late development in the war and arrived in only small numbers. A total of 1,500 Tiger IIs were ordered, which is slightly more than the total number of Tiger Is actually built, at 1,347 vehicles. Bombing raids by the Allies severely disrupted production. During 5 raids, 95% of floor area of the Henschel plant was destroyed between the 22nd of September and the 7th of October of 1944. Estimations say that this caused a loss of about 657 Tiger IIs. A total of 492 were built from 1943 to 1945. The Tiger II was the basis for the Yak Tiger tank destroyer, which I have already covered in another episode, and a proposition was made for a grille self-propelled mount for heavy guns, but this never reached production. Lots of upgrades were proposed, such as the HL234, an engine born from the Maybach HL230. but included fuel injection and would have increased the power to about 800 to 900 horsepower, and the Entwicklungskommission, Development Commission, decided unanimously that the HL234 would be included immediately in the engine design and procurement program. The AK-7200 and Simmering Gratz-Pauker SLA-16 engines were also explored as alternatives, but inferior driving characteristics and supply constraints respectively resulted in cancellations of these programs. Krupp proposed a 10.5 cm KWK L68 gun, but the Wa-Proof 6 was not supportive, since the German army hadn't accepted the cannon as part of their inventory. Other suggestions included stabilized sights and main gun, automatic ammunition feed, a Zeiss stereoscopic rangefinder, heated crew compartment, storage for 12 additional rounds, and an overpression and air filtration system against poison gas. These were, however, not put into production due to the end of the war. Now, I'm going to end the episode right here, since it is starting to get long. If you liked this episode, press that like button. If you didn't, press the dislike. Also leave a comment, share the video, and subscribe to my channel. Stay tuned for part 2, where we will discuss combat history and all that sort of stuff, surviving tanks as well. And until later, take care.